Hello everyone, welcome to GoVMlab VMware Cloud on AWS Master Deep Dive training program. In this particular lecture, we are going to learn about how to create and manage users in VMware Cloud services. So let's get started. So open the browser, type vmc.vmware.com. So that's the link which we need to use it. vmc.vmware.com, press enter key, and you do see that this portal is being launched, VMware Cloud Services. And it tells us that welcome to VMware Cloud Services. Here we need to provide our organization email address. So give a organization email addresses as VMC user @ email.com. So that's the particular user address we are using it to log into this particular cloud services. Click on next, and as you could see that it asks for password. So provide the password of this user, and we have successfully provided the password. Click on sign in, and as when you provide the right credentials, you do see that it allow us successfully logged in to VMware Cloud on AWS services. Now, as you could see that this is our VMware Cloud on AWS portal. So we are logged into VMware Cloud on AWS, and that is the portal. So that is our SDDC. So whenever we are deploying a new SDDC, that's the option we would be using it for deploying VMware Cloud SDDC on AWS infrastructure. And that's the wizard which we would be using it to create our SDDC. But before creating SDDC, we need to create a user who will have a right privileges to grow and deploy SDDC. So before deploying or creating an SDDC, we need to create a user with the right set of permissions to go and deploy SDDC. So let's go and create that user for us first. So click on this dots, and there, right there, you do see that we in the administration section, we have something called IAM, Identity and Access Management. So we need to go to Identity and Access Management, and it will redirect us to that IAM console. As you could see that we have a one username which is already created is VMC user @ email.com. So if you do see that, that was the user we have used initially to logged in to VMware Cloud Services account. So that's our primary user, the first user. And if you look at the role of that user, you do see that that is the organization owner, which means that this particular user is been assigned a role as organization owner, which means that it has all set of administrator level privileges to have access to the VMware Cloud services. Just like we have an administrator or we have a root account in the Windows or Linux operating system. That's where the user having an organization owner role, which means that this particular user has access to all the VMware Cloud services. And the next section, if you see that, it talks about what all the roles which have been aligned or which have been allocated to this particular user. So what we're going to do now, we're going to create a new user because organization owner has a capability to go and create a or invite new users. So let's go and create a new user. And for that, click on add users, give a email address of that new user. So we give an email address. Let's type an email address, and you do see that jdo @ email.com. That is the user we are going to create it. So as you could see that we can go with this IAM identity and access management, we can invite new users to our organization, and that's where we are inviting a new user having an email address as jdo @ email.com. Scroll down. Now the next thing, if you do see that after creating that user, we also need to define what is the role we want to assign to that user. Is that organization member or it is a organization owner? So by default, if you see that a default role get assigned to any user as organization member. If you rightly see that, that is the user role which get assigned to any default user, because we cannot make every user as an organization owner. But based on organization requirement, you can create multiple users as an organization owner and the set of users as an organization members based on the business requirement. So click here and let's make this user also as an organization owner. So we are going to make this user as an organization owner. So that's a one part of our user role assignment. The next thing, we also need to define what all services we would like to give access to this particular user, what we are going to create it. For example, this VMware Cloud Services, if you see that, it has a multiple services, VMware Cloud on AWS. So if you might have noticed that, if you look at it here, we are not at the VMware Cloud on AWS console. In fact, we are on VMware Cloud Services console, which means that this single portal will have a multiple cloud services. Now we can define that which all services I want to provide access to this user of mine, which I'm going to make it as an organization owner. So let's go and define the cloud services which I would like to give privilege to this particular user. So to do that, click on add service access and look at that. The very first service role which we are providing access is VMware Cloud on AWS. So that's the first service. That's the first service we are going to provide access to, VMware Cloud on AWS. The next section is what role are we going to make this user as an administrator for this particular service, or we are going to provide some other roles. So let's go and check out the roles, what we can allocate it to this particular user. So that's a service we have chosen, VMware Cloud on AWS. Now let's talk about the roles. So click on drag and drop and you do see that we have a multiple user accounts created here. We have a something called administrator, which is by default created here. But other than that, we also have administrator with the delete restricted access, which means that when you look at the administrator user will have access to all the features of this particular service, VMware Cloud on AWS service. But administrator with delete restricted will be equivalent to the administrator user, but it will not have privileges to delete the SDDC or delete the clusters. That's the only difference between administrator and administrator with the delete restrictions. Now you might be wondering, what are these two new rules? NSX Cloud Admin, NSX Cloud Auditor. Now NSX Cloud Admin and NSX Cloud Auditor users are having a specific users which will have access to the networking and security services which actually being provided by this particular service. So if we combine any user role along with administrator, we need to combine with either NSX Cloud Auditor or NSX Cloud Admin if we want to provide networking and security access to that particular user. And yes, you will have to provide or you will have to create NSX Cloud Admin user to configure networking rules like opening a firewall rules, opening a VPN tunnels between your SDDCs. So that's what we have to create a user with the right set of permissions. The only difference between NSX Cloud Admin and NSX Cloud Auditor is that the auditor will only have a read-only accesses. The auditor can view the network and security services. The auditor can go and look at the policies, what we have defined as a part of our network configuration, but the auditor will not have access to go and create or modify those policies or network services. Whereas the NSX Cloud Admin user will have all the privileges to go and configure networking policies such as firewall rules, VPN sessions, creating NAT rules, and so on, so forth. So that's what it's all about. So now let's go and provide this user as a permission of NSX Cloud Admin as well as NSX Cloud Auditor. So what we are doing it, we are creating this user and we are providing these three roles to this particular user for the VMware Cloud on AWS services: administrator, NSX Cloud admin, and NSX Cloud Auditor. Click on done, and as you could see that we have successfully configured services and the roles we have defined it. Now we also would require a couple of other services. So click on add services access, and as you could see that we have created administrator role for our VMware HCX services. Hybrid Cloud Connect service is used for bulk migrations of our virtual machines. That's another very important service. We would be using it as a part of VMware Cloud on AWS learning program. Now, there are a couple of other services. For example, log intelligence is again a very powerful service which gives us an intelligent way of looking and analyzing our logs. And last but not least, VMware Network Insight. Network Insight is another very powerful service offering offered by VMware to have a deeper visibility of our network configurations. So that's what we have assigned the services and the respective roles. Click on the add, and as you could see that we have successfully created a new user named as John Doe. That's the email address of this user, and most importantly, this user is not an organization member. This user is configured as an organization owner, and it has multiple roles assigned to it, such as administrator, NSX Cloud admin, NSX Cloud auditor, and then couple of bunch of other roles which we have seen, that log intelligence administrator and the respective roles for the other services. Let's go and log out from a default user which we have used. So if you remember, when we log into our VMware Cloud Services, we logged in with the username as VMC user at the rate of email.com. That's the user we used it. But now let's log out from this particular user and let's log in with this new user what we have created, just to verify or make sure that we are successfully able to create this particular user and having access to our VMware Cloud Services portal. So click here, click on the sign out. And as you could see that we are logged out from that previous user. Now let's log in again. Now we are not going to use VMC user. So click on sign in using another account. And this time we'll have to provide username as John Doe. And as you could see that that's our username. Click on next. And once you do next, as you could successfully see that, look at the right topmost corner, we are logged in with the username as John Doe. And another important thing, if you might have noticed that, look at that services. This particular user has access to 4 services named as VMware Cloud on AWS, VMware HCX, VMware Log Intelligence, and VMware Network Insight. Now there are a bunch of other services available as well. For example, you do see that LMS service definition, Skyline Advisor, but since we never created role or provided this particular user having access to these services, that's the reason this user will not have access to those services. Now click on the VMware Cloud on AWS. So now we are logged to, or we are having access to this VMware Cloud on AWS services, and look at that. As you could see that our user has access to the VMware Cloud on AWS services, and that's the portal where in the next lecture we are going to learn how do we go and create SDTC on using VMware Cloud on AWS service. We hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thanks for your time. Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.